All right, here's what I should be doing as a man. I am 20 years old, finishing up my second year at college. And, you know, as I look into the future um, of the United States, of humanity, of my own life, you know, looking into the future with what I want it to be has been something that I've done for many, many years. But and it's not really that much different, but um, I then backpedal from looking into the future with what I want and what is happening around the world to what I should be doing on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis. Because yes, it's great to look at the future and appreciate it and visualize how you want it to be for yourself. But the only way you make that come true is in the present. The future is created in the present based on based on the actions that you take. You know, the reason I have a built, fairly built body, a good amount of muscle, good VO2 max. I'm a decent soccer player. All of these things is because of actions I've taken in the past where I've worked out, eaten healthy, slept well, practiced, things of that sort, right? And so the outcomes of me is the future of my past self doing actions. And so looking into the future, I need to do actions today in order to achieve the future that I want, right? Another thing is that, you know, so many people and so many of my peers, and very much me sometimes, can get caught up doing things that don't matter. Um, you know, looking at looking at the future, and envisioning certain things, having, a pessimistic or even an optimistic outlook, and, analyzing it in certain areas, or, watching sports or other things. And everything can be good in a way. Watching sports can be a very social thing, and you can build relationships like that, which can lead to better things in the future, or simply having the knowledge of sports can lead to better relationships, etc. Or it can inspire you, things of that sort. Same with like watching movies or video games or all these other, you know, things that people do for enjoyment. Like they can be good, but many times like you definitely cannot overdo them, and it's very easy to overdo them, especially in today's world, with how easy and accessible all these things are. And so when I look at what I should be doing as a man, it comes down to a few things, but they're things that I have to be aware of and plan for and attack daily. And so here are the things that I should be doing as a man to build myself up for the future that I want. That is also good for the future of like humanity and of the United States or the world right now. Um, and so the first and biggest probably for me is building capital. I can use the word make money, but um, it's more like create ownership. And so, of course, I don't want to be, trading my time for money. There's no way that I can expand out of that. My days will always just be the same. Um, and I won't be able to kind of break out of any place. I'll always just be doing the same job every day and like only having the weekends as like most people have. And so the biggest thing I can do is build ownership of skills, of businesses, of ideas, and act on them. So any sort of ideas, here at school, I'm learning accounting and gonna go into the accounting profession. Like that is a skill. Sales and public speaking and communication are skills. That's what I'm working on now. That's what I work on in some of the classes that I teach. That's what I work on daily when I talk to people, you know. And I feel like I maybe analyze life or the things that I do a lot more than my peers. But, working on and building skills in all of the AI tools that are coming out now, which is huge. Creating content, which is what I'm doing here and on Instagram. Um, becoming a nutrition coach. That's also public speaking. That's also sales. That's also um, building just the skill of coaching and helping people change in a positive light. Um, being a good leader, being aspirational, those are very much things that I'm working on. And so those are huge, and being able to transfer those into capital, into ownership, into ways of building and creating and making money that is not an hour-to-hour wage is huge. And that's probably the biggest thing for me as a 20-year-old right now, is to be able to do that, as quickly as possible without sacrificing too many things, but definitely while sacrificing many. But to me, they're good trade-offs. And that is a huge unlock for so many things in my life, with being able to make have freedom in all different areas, you know, live where I want to live, um, do what I want to do, not be subject to having to go into the office all the time. Um, and of course, that can be, nice. There are many people who love their day jobs and love going into the office. And I do want to work for my entire life. Like, I don't want to ever um, retire. I think retiring is stupid. I think you want to work on something that you genuinely, truly enjoy. And for a lot of people, maybe they don't enjoy their jobs, but they very much enjoy those that they work with. And, that's very fulfilling for them. Um, and it would be for me too. And I want to work with people I want to work with. I also want to work on things that I want to work on and push humanity forward and be, you know, a leader in that sense. Even whether it's just my family. But I know that, there was a quote in my marketing class. I think it was by um, John Quincy Adams, where he said, like, cause if your actions cause others to be inspired and to act themselves, you are a leader. And so in the past, I've thought about, whether or not I'm a leader or not, whether or not I'm, you know, capable of being a leader or worthy of being a leader. I was the captain of my soccer team in the past, and you know, on the one hand, I'm very narcissistic and have a good image of myself, and on the other hand, I'm very I don't want to say humble, but I'm very, you know, uncertain and not entirely sure if I'm worthy and things of that sort. It's a weird kind of paradigm, but that quote really hit me hard because, like, I know that people do look up to me. I know that people are inspired. A lot of my friends have told me that they're inspired by the actions that I take and by the, you know, things that we talk about. And, I do believe, everyone is kind of going through their life uncertain, me included. It's everyone. As you grow up, you learn that adults aren't these all-knowing beings, but that they're just grown-up children like you are. And so, a leader doesn't necessarily have to know everything. They just have to, you know, act in a good way, in a good moral way, try to make decisions as best as possible, and people will follow that. And so, you know, I've been led before, and am currently still being led by many people, and aspiring to be like certain people. And I'm also us inspiring and leaders of others. And I think that's always how it's going to work. There's always going to be people above you and below you. But I definitely want to embrace being a leader and, become better at that. So that's the biggest one: building capital, building skills. Second is building my body, and staying healthy, which is, obviously something that I'm very well versed in, but of course still can become better at. I still haven't mastered the foundations, so that's huge, because as we get into the future with all this AI stuff, when that also impacts the leaders too. Like, in the future, humans, like, work is not going to change we're just going to be leaders of robots and like robot workers. And so instead of kind of doing the labor, doing the labor for us is going to be more of the director role, more of the management and leadership roles, what decisions should be made, things like that. So that's why the leadership is huge. And then you build your body because your body and health is something that can't be given to you, right? I mean, at least we haven't yet come up with machines where it's going to run for you and lift weights for you and somehow synthetically make your muscles and cells react as if that's actually happening. Um, and so having a good body and a healthy body is something that can only, like, it's something that shows discipline because it can't be done for you. It can't be given to you. It has to be done through months and years of hard training and hard discipline, good diet, good sleep, things like that. So that's huge. Build capital, build body. Second or third is build mind. This goes very much with um, build capital, but build mind as in learn about history, learn about economics, learn about philosophy, all the new technologies that are coming out, um, psychology, strategy, write often, speak often, and learn to think in systems and become a critical thinker and work on that daily. All of that is being eroded today in many people's brains through, brain rot, constant stimulation, endless entertainment. People aren't engaging the muscle of their brain. They're not thinking, especially with AI when it's going to be able to kind of do everything for them. I don't want, AI replacing all the manual labor and robots replacing all the manual labor and AI allowing us to do all these great things in the future and come up with better, you know, scientific discoveries and push forward mathematics and physics and chemistry. Like that's so awesome because inherently AI is just like a pattern recognizer. And so if you can like, because humans are just pattern recognizers too. And so if you can get an AI en masse that can pattern recognize, like that's basically what we're trying to do with our minds. We're trying to learn history, economics, philosophy, all these advances in technology and psychology so that we have all these different realms of seeing reality and can therefore make the best decisions. Because, like I talked about in my previous video, like as humans, we learn all this stuff to try to best understand reality so that we can become the best at predicting it. Um, and so, yeah, building your mind and learning about all these different dimensions. That's why for me, like learning is something that does not stop at college, does not stop after I get out of my classes. Ever since high school, I have continuously learned and been very curious. Actually, all throughout my childhood, I've been very curious. And I believe that most people inherently are. And I've just learned because as a child, I had access to the internet. And so I was just able to learn about anything that I wanted to, whether it was nutrition, whether it was history, and that's why it's also nice to have friends that are very versed in these other domains as well. Um, so that you can have all these different, again, perspectives in through which to view the world, to best accurately understand it and be able to predict it. And so that's why building your mind is so powerful. And as well as I've talked in previous videos about how your mind is kind of the only thing that you have. Not only do you want to build your mind, but I'll talk about um, kind of building your soul. And so being able to be calm in your mind and be emotionally regulated and be rational, like to not be able to be manipulated and those sorts. Um, so building your mind is huge, building your body is huge, building capital is huge. And then, as I said, building your soul. So, for me, that's prayer. That's, I definitely have to reflect, which helps to build my mind and really understand what I've learned, but also reflection in that making sure I'm on the right path as a person, and that I'm, you know, consistently updating reality, um, and to, be a truthful man, to not engage too much into uh, entertainment. Definitely engage in play, as that is very huge. That is part of that is part of us as humans. Like we engage in play and beauties and wonders of the world. Um, but it's very easy nowadays to overextend into that because it's so easy and accessible. So having discipline in that sense, having gratitude and looking at the world optimistically is huge. Um, because, inherently to move forward and to pursue something, you have to not have it. And so while yes, there are so many things I want to pursue, I'm pursuing them out of optimism because I already have kind of everything I need. I am I am kind of grounded in all that I have and I'm thankful for all of it. Yet at the same time, there's so much more that we can explore and make better as a species. Um, and like for my family and my children and things like that, that you have to you have to balance that paradox of being gratitude but also being hungry for more, right? Self-control is huge. I mean, like we talked about with the entertainment already, but so many other forms of self-control go into like your diet and making sure that you're not eating more than you should and things like that. Um, Self-control and managing your time is huge. Um, because the thing with the future and with AI is that it's simply a multiplier of people's inherent characteristics. Same thing with money. Um, it's inherently power. AI gives you power to do certain things that you couldn't before. Same with money. Money gives you power, right? And so when you get power, it simply enhances your baseline characteristics. So if you're a really good person, you're loyal, you're um, a smart critical thinker, you have a really good set of morals on your head and in your heart, like you will only be enhanced by this power that you get from money, AI, etc. But if you're not a good person, you're degenerate, you don't care about others, you're not empathetic or caring, you're not too intelligent, things of that sort, you're going to fall down that hole when you get that power because it's just going to consume you. Like as humans, we have to be strong enough with enough discipline and, you know, self-restraint that we control the power and not let the power control us, whether that power is money, AI, or whatever else it is in the future. And so building your soul is huge for that. Next for me is building um, a family. And so and that's not just the traditional family. I'll talk about in the sense of like relationships as a whole. So building good, solid, loyal, trusting relationships is huge. Like I said, we're social animals and we, rely on one another. And I think that's good. Being dependent is good. I would never want to be, you know, independent. I want to be dependent on those that I love and those that are close to me. I want to be very loyal to them and have them be loyal to me. Um, and because I think that's the beauty of life, um, is that we have one another and we can go through it with one another and that we can pursue great things with one another. Um, it also connects with health, I guess, because you need to be fertile and healthy to just pursue good connections, but also to have children. Um, and so, yeah, building a family, building brotherhood, those are huge things. And then the last one I'll talk about that like I should be doing as a man is building taste as AI um, is able to replicate or kind of create whatever. We're traveling, we're as a fundamentally as a race, as a species, we are transforming into a species that has been against scarcity for so long, and now we're going to be against abundance. And the problems of abundance are very different than the problems of scarcity. And so dealing with those problems is very different. You see that with obesity. Everyone's obese It's not because of scarcity. We have enough food. It's because we have so much that people can't control themselves, right? Same thing with entertainment. We have so much that people can't control themselves. That's why discipline and self-control are so huge. But also, taste becomes really big. To be able to sort through all of these things that are being engineered and created by AI or by people, right? And knowing what is beautiful, what is true, what is healthy, what is worth building. And that's inherently needed in a leader to make those decisions about where we should move as a species, what we should attack. And, I'm not talking about myself as if like I'm Elon Musk or like God or the president or whatever. Like all these things come down to they start simply at a household level. Like I will be the leader of my household, of my children, of my wife. And so I need to make the best decisions for them. And then it expands out into, the bigger family unit and then the community. I mean, the neighborhood and then the community and then, the state and the country and the world and the species. Um, but it all starts small in that family unit or even within yourself. Within your head it starts. And so building that taste of what you think is truly good, bad, in a different sense with morality, with what is beautiful, what should be um, pursued. Those are major things. So as a man, I should right now be doing, which is what I'm working on and need to become better at working on as well. Building capital, building my body, building my brain and my mind, building my soul, building family and relationships, and then building taste. And I believe all of this will set me up well for my future in the future that we're moving to as a species. Thank you for watching.